Hello and welcome, everyone. Today is the 9th of March, 2024. I'm joined with Michael on Skype, and we are going to delve back into Sciences and Religion script. And Michael's got the second part to the unknown island. And thank you, Michael, for putting the research together, and eager to hear what you've got to bring to the table today.
Yeah, hello Brad, hello dear listeners. Thanks for bearing with my bad school English. I have never talked to anybody who can really bear doing sessions with me for quite a long time. That I'm really surprised that anybody would be eager to know even more and more of this absolutely fallen world. Brad, I'm a little bit surprised that you can take it all. But so there we are on the Sabbath as usual.
Mm-hmm.
So you want it, you got it. As we are both heretics in the eyes of the powers to be, maybe this.
Of course, because the whole premise and definition of the Antichrist is one who sits in the place of Christ. So when you take the place of Christ, you take all the doctrine away. And of course we're heretical to that system, because that's Satan's system.
Yeah, that means that we got a both good choice of being labeled as heretics and dangerous and what else. So there is a quite good chance that we won't have a natural death. And maybe this script will lead to it. Who knows? Who knows in the end? But you see that getting older has one big advantage. Because you have the majority of part of all the mess already behind you. And that's the good
There
part.
you go.
That's the good thing.
That's a good way of looking at it, yeah.
Yeah. So why does that strange German guy comes up with unknown islands again? Yeah, I can tell you, because it's about geology. This is a 20-second session already, and I don't know how many sessions it will take.
Oh, this is funny. I got to read this. It's out of this world, alive on a forbidden continent. Blah, 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 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wonders never before beheld by man. Unknown island. Color by Cinecolor. Yeah, and then you see all the people.
Yeah, this is just a random picture, actually. I just needed the title of Unknown Island, because I told you last time, I think, that we can't be sure of how actually the size and all the stuff is when it comes down to certain things. And you will see why in a jiffy.
Isn't that interesting, though? Instead of 60 million years ago, how about just 6,000 years ago, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Why'd they choose 6?
Sure.
Because they know. They know. They're laughing at us, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're making a mockery of us.
Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the session, actually, let's take a look at this.
Yeah, you had mentioned that at the beginning of the last session, Michael.
Yeah, imagine, you see, that there are some things that are not been known to your people, to your pupils, to universities. Out of a sudden they come on with, oh yeah, there are some unknown islands, and maybe you see there are some more. Who knows? My problem I got with it is that we have to ask questions, and we have to not take no for an answer, but we have to ask and to be surprised, because in the end the Bible will be correct. Actually, it's the word of God. So therefore what we are doing is we are just uncovering all these unfruitful works of darkness. And you see, that takes so much time, and I just want to have a shortcut. So I stumbled upon a website who tells me that this continental drift is not a thing that's been happening, but actually that is the division of languages and nations at the Tower of Babel, because that can't be, because in the usual continuation of the Bible, this is just Peleg and the days of when the earth has been divided in Genesis 10, the forerunner to Genesis 11 with the Tower of Babel. But, and there's a big but, I don't buy this. First of all, I got a great movie here, or a great picture here of that website. Some people, this website claims, have pointed to the breaking open of the fountains of the deep during the flood in Genesis 7:11 as a potential cause for the continent to drift. Others say it may have happened during the separation of land from water during creation in Genesis 1:9. Maybe one of these is correct, maybe neither. So I think that it won't save you in the end. The thing is, though, that if you go to the King James Bible in the chapter Genesis 10, you will see that it's much about genealogy. So this is chapter 10. This is genealogy. This maybe is necessary to understand the following chapters, but it's not necessarily separated from other chapters. What it says here is it's about Peleg. And unto Eber was born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. And the earth has been the root of Hebrews 7:7-6. So it is a firm land. Common country, earth, field, ground, land. Yeah, so I think that the translators are correct when they translate Hebrews 7:7-6 with earth. Earth, 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 earth. 7:7-6. So I don't see any problem with that verse actually. So then that's that. Next one's coming up in the script. You see, the problem is that we talked about, Brett and me, we talked about that everybody has a perception. There's nobody who's not biased in any way. You have an advantage, of course, if your parents are real reborn Christians. Then you would have a big, big, big advantage. But you see, that time will tell. Yeah, maybe sometimes you have somebody who can push you in the wrong direction. So therefore, I found quite another excellent article, not an excellent website, because there are many articles on that website which I don't agree upon, but except from that I got an excellent article. You see, I think that the separation of the earth or the continental drift, if you would like to explain it in that kind of term, happened because people also had their language confused while building the Tower of Babel. You see, the Tower of Babel, Lord came down to see what's it all about. They found the first mason called Nimrod, who wanted to achieve to be like God. So he wanted to be the tower that he can reach unto the heaven, and all the same stuff that, for example, Lucifer, Satan, is keen on. But that is not a work of 1 week or 1 month. So therefore you can expect that everything that happened there is connected. And I think, in a spiritual way, Brett, I think that the Tower of Babel and the continental drift is a sign that people have been separated from God. And so the Lord decided it would be wise to let these people not gather together, but to confuse their language and to divert them in their own countries / continents. Yeah? Because this is a called a division. The only thing which is really useful and needed to know for salvation is that the Jesus Christ and the Lord is your Redeemer. That's Psalms 19:14. So all these divisions and all this continental drift won't save you in the end. It won't save you in the end. So the only thing that will save you in the end is John 14:6, Jesus Christ, the only way to eternal life. So when we come down to unknown islands, remember, this is a symbol of the United Nations. But something is missing. Can you see what it is? And can you guess why?
No, I don't see what you're talking about.
You don't see what I'm talking about. So you see all these continents of the earth here, depicted here on that circular, what else, on the United Nations symbol, right? You see North America, you see Middle America, you see South America, you see Europe, Asia, you see Africa, you see Australia, you even see New Zealand. But what's the thing that you don't see because they don't show you.
Go ahead.
It's the same thing as in these special maps, when you see it on the square and stationary Earth from Ferguson, as well on the Gleason map shown on the book The Cosmology Conflict. Here in that book Cosmology Conflict, you see it also from the view of the North Pole, right?
Yep.
But there is something on the map of the United Nations that you don't see. And I think that could be on purpose. This would be here to mislead people into thinking that United Nations would depict a flat Earth, which they aren't. They are just missing out information on this map. See, all these maps, they have some errors, which we have talked about. These famous or infamous Mercator map and all the stuff. So, these maps have all some errors. And what makes me believe that now we got a map who's absolutely correct? So, it's interesting, when Gleason came up with that map and Ferguson came up with that map in 1892, respectively 1893. Interesting enough is that Gleason is a Seventh-day Adventist. I got nothing against Seventh-day Adventists. They raise some interesting questions, but I don't follow their doctrine. Ellen G. White and all this stuff. And this, help me out, Brad, this judgment in heaven, 18 something, what is it now?
Oh, yeah.
Investigative judgment and all this stuff, yeah? So the biblical doctrine, in my humble opinion, is totally off the records, yeah? But at least you see there are some people who are just raising some questions. So in both of these maps, there is something which is missing in the United Nations map. And it's so easy, actually. It's so easy. This map here on the square and stationary Earth, which I do not use. You see that I don't care what the size of the actual Earth is, because that won't save you in the end. But the things that are missing out, these are the things that they just try to avoid. So that's just my interpretation of it. It's just the same philosophy I got on the case of Kennedy and the alike. So this has been published in 1893. And you can guess that in 1893, the majority of people believed in the globe model. Okay? But, and it's a big but, the United Nations symbol does not show you a globe model. It shows you the world from the North Pole. And Brad and me, we have assumed, at least, that it could be because they want to be like God, because usually God has been depicted as being in the North. So let's go, let's have a look. If I compare the eye, that would be my closest guess. And it's a guess, it's not the truth. I'm not a prophet and I don't see myself as being 100% here. I think that's the closest coming to the truth, because you see the eye has the iris in the middle here, which is that black spot, and has also a circular shape. Yeah, so where they have all these receivers, transmitters, and what is all called, you see that are not studied
Pupil.
Pupil, yeah. And this is just very close to the model they show you on the map of the United Nations and the map of Gleason. Yeah, compare that. But there's also something other which is here depicted in the eye. You see, if I think that the man has been created in the image of God, and God created the earth as the desired place of man to be, then I look at the shape of the eye and I think, oh, that's interesting, because Isaiah in English, Isaiah 40:22 said the circle of the earth, and the eye is circular. That's why I don't go for the square and stationary earth. I go for the stationary earth, but not for the square earth. So we are not living on a globe, but in a giant donut mold. So that could be, at least you got a spot here in the middle which depicts the north. So he's depicting 4 angels who are standing in the 4 corners of the earth, Revelation 7:1. And he says it's possible that we are living on a rapidly rotating globe-shaped earth. And I totally agree that we are not living on a rapidly rotating earth. Because that would be the result that these men are flying on the globe at the rate of 65 or 66,000 miles per hour around the sun and 1,000 miles per hour around the center of the earth in their minds. Yeah, that's quite interesting, huh? 1893 seems pretty late in the game to be producing a map of the world as a square, stationary chunk, but Orlando Ferguson wasn't a lone voice. The latter half of the 19th century has seen a research of the movement. You see, the flat earth is a deception in itself, because the Bible does not depict the earth as being flat. The Bible depicts the earth as being a circle. So, either way, you get it wrong because you're not in line with the Bible. Isaiah says it is a circle of the earth. He does not speak about the globe and he does not speak about the flat. So you see that you control both sides. You control also the opposition, which is the flat earth society. You're not in line with all this flat earth society. And this is what is missing, for crying out loud, on the United Nations map. This is Antarctica. This is one of the biggest continents. They claim, I can't prove it, you see, they claim it is 14 million square kilometers. That's bigger than your United States. This is Antarctica. This you can also interpret as being an island, right? At least it's a continent. It's a continental landmass. And it's swimming somewhere in the ocean. And it's being seen as the southern part of the world. At least. The problem is that the distortion on maps, they are creating a big problem. Because if you got a Mercator projection, then the Antarctica is just even bigger than North America. And the total continent of America. The problem in it is that the Mercator map would depict the Antarctica as quite too large. On the Earth globe, if you look it up from the north, you won't see it at all, of course. So therefore, they came up with the interesting idea to display it in the azimuthal equidistant map. And that's the map that the United Nations is using. And now we step back to the script. See? You can't see it. They get away with that because they can tell, oh yeah, but the Antarctica, this is depicted here because that is the white circle before you got these leaves here. But of course it's not a white circle. You see, it's not even. So therefore, I don't grant their argument, because it is not just only a white circle, this part of ice Antarctica here, but it's uneven. But they get away with that. So I think there must be a reason why they are not showing Antarctica on the map of the United Nations. And we have to find out why. Because that is a question I think that usually nobody questions. So this is missing. Clearly missing. So one of the biggest continents of the earth is clearly missing in the map of the United Nations. And they get away with that because they say that, oh yeah, that's the, what's the phrase? Azimuthal equidistant map. So it is not a flat earth map. You have now to use your imagination to depict a three-dimensional or multi-dimensional object on a plain piece of paper. Yeah, but that is not the Antarctica here. Why? Because the United Nations, it seems, is not using this map as well. Because, you see, this is quite circular, round shape. Michael is nitty-picking. No, I'm not. You see that I just want to know why they are not showing that. So therefore, I guess Antarctica must be a hell of an important place then, because they are not depicting it. Why don't they depict it? You see that they could have used any other kind of map. No, they used a map where they deliberately or intentionally or coincidentally are not depicting the Antarctica. So, once again, this big continent, and you see this is not circular here. You see you got here an extension here, and you got a little less here, and you got a little bit more here on this southeast from this perspective here. So, I think of there must be something to it, and that's why the majority of my research went into Antarctica. And you won't believe what is up there. So this is the problem here. Yeah, that's the azimuthal equidistant. But it's still missing. Compare these two displays here, and you won't see that it is missing. It's simply missing. At least you would have to use another circle here, right? But so you think that they can get away with that by exclaiming, yeah, that's the ice here. Oh, come on. Hilarious, huh? That reminds me of Albert Einstein, who says, oh yeah, all is relative, because it just depends on your viewpoint. Where is your location? From where are you looking on top of the earth? But I guess, at least in my humble explanation, nobody is looking from that direction onto the earth. That would require an extreme height that they claim can achieve with their International Space Station maybe. But no mortal human, can achieve a height where you can see all the continents in one view. Right?
Right.
Except God. So they say, in my humble opinion, in my expression of that, okay, we are not showing the entire Earth here, we are just missing out Antarctica, and we suppose that we show the world as a cross eye here from the top, as if we were God, as if we were on the throne, and the Earth would be our footstool. That would be at least my explanation, Brett.
Sure.
But it gets worse. Because you can exchange your viewpoint, of course. You can also look to the Earth from the so-called South Pole or the Antarctica. Aha. So it is just a matter of your viewpoint. The flag of the United Nations contains an example of the polar azimuthal equidistant projection. The polar azimuthal equidistant projection, so it must be very important that they have repeated it here on Wikipedia, has also been adopted by the 21st century flat earthers as a map of the flat earth, particular due to its use in the United Nations flag and its depiction of Antarctica as a ring around the edge of the earth. Where do you see Antarctica in that picture? I'm sorry, but you see the intermediate here, so the small gaps here, this is the cause of the olive wreath, right? This is not the cause of the ice of the Antarctica. This is the olive, what is the olive branch?
It's the laurels.
Yeah. So either way, you see this is the laurels, so they are creating the effect that there are some space in between the leaves. Okay, let's put it this way. While it may have been used by ancient Egyptians for star maps in some holy books, the early text describing the azimuthal equidistant projection is an 11th century work by Albioni. And you have to believe it, of course. So everything is relative. You can look to the earth or to the world from any direction, and you can choose your own direction. If you are just see your viewpoint here in the middle of the ocean, or your viewpoint would be somewhere here, somewhere there, it does not care. I don't want to bother you with all the things, but you see the problem is, where is your point of absolute? There is no point of absolute. Also, if it would be a globe, where is your point of absolute? Why can you really define what is north and south on a spinning ball? Where is north and south on a ball? I would be eager to hear any answer on that question. Is it not a presumption then? Is it not just being... It's like the longitudes that you just define. Okay, 0 longitude is Greenwich in the United Kingdom, but there's also quite randomly, or just you do the definition, Brett. It's not that God said, okay, I divide the earth into west and east and north and south. The Bible does not speak about it, that it is Greenwich. It's just man-made science, so-called, that they say, okay, yes, east or greenish is the east. Yeah, so it is just your perception of the world where you draw the line, literally. That's what everybody takes as granted. Yes, the north is there where Greenland is, and the south is there where Argentina is. Yeah, but it's also just your own projection of the world. And then you have been indoctrinated in your school. Maybe it's just the other way around. Maybe the north is in China and the south is in what else? I'm just raising questions that nobody raises because everybody takes everything as granted. And I don't take things as granted. So therefore I have to look it up. What really leads to the assumption that the north is in Greenland and the south is just the opposite direction, okay? I'm not going into this flat earth because that is not the thing of interest. The thing of interest is that they want you to indoctrinate with their view of the world and their view of the so-called universe and their view of the so-called solar system that you do not believe in the Bible. That's my 2 cents on it. And everybody is prejudiced for and against any arguments. But if you are for or against any arguments, you have to look at the facts first. So therefore, I never insisted on a flat earth. And I never insisted on a globe earth. Because it is the powers to be that teach a globe and control the opposition with a flat earth. That is my belief. It's not my truth. I'm not a prophet. That tells you it's most likely, according to my hypothesis, neither of them. Because it is always secular to keep you away from listening and to study your Bible. And that's the purpose that I don't want to follow with my series. You will see, or our series, you will see many, many biblical quotations, and it is about the future events to come. So I don't care about any explanation because that won't save you in the end. It won't save you. There is also religion in that interesting continent called Antarctica. Can you guess what? Religion in Antarctica is largely dominated by so-called Christianity. Where is my marker here? Again, thanks. With church being only religious buildings on the continent. Although used regularly for Christian worship. The Chapel of the Snows have been also used for Buddhist and Baha'i ceremonies. Some of the early religious buildings are now protected as important historical monuments. So, in Antarctica, there's not a bunch of people there, not much people there. Christianity, so-called Christianity, so Roman Catholicism, is, as in most of the countries, at least in South America, and Antarctica is south of South America, so it's the southern part of the earth, whatever shape it is, it's Christianity. Where do we start here? You got several churches there, also on the Falkland Islands, which is quite nearby. You got a Norwegian Lutheran church at Grytviken at South Georgia. No wonder. Jesuits, which have had a long tradition of geophysical research in Antarctica, contributed as well to the early Antarctic missions. Notable Jesuit scholars like Edward A. Bradley, Henry F. Birkenauer, J. Joseph Lynch, and David J. Linehan have been among those. No wonder, huh? If they conquer South America and they had their first communism country like Paraguay, it is no wonder that they have just moved a little bit further south and then discovered, oh, there is another big continent drifting somewhere in the waters, and it's just Antarctica, so let's take this also in our possession. Huh? It's interesting that even Wikipedia mentions the Jesuits here quite prominently, huh? Yeah, so the majority of Catholic Antarctic sites exist due to the Argentine presence on the continent. Oh, Brett, can you remember what the name of the current pope is?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Argentina is one of the biggest land owners who claim that the Antarctica is their territory. So I guess no wonder that I think, in my personal bias, that there is quite an interesting interest in from the Vatican to Antarctica? What can it be? It's not the usual conspiracy theories. I got quite another one, or I got a hypothesis. So the first Catholic chapel named after Saint Francis of Assisi. Oh, there's a big alarm bell, I guess. Could also be Francis Xavier then, huh? When we have just learned that there are Jesuit missionaries on that island or continent called Antarctica, we have to suppose that Pope Francis took not only the name in honor of Francis of Assisi, but maybe on Francis Xavier, who was one of the founding members of the Jesuits, wasn't it? So, was built in 1976 as the Argentine Esperanza base. Esperanza, we would need Hector, I think it is hope. Spanish. Hope, yes. So, the basis of hope. The chapel of Our Lady of the Snows, is Antarctica's southernmost Catholic chapel. In fact, the southernmost place of worship of any religion. It lies at the Argentine Belgrano too. It is the permanent Catholic chapel made entirely of ice. Oh, that is very interesting, huh? So, the chapel of Our Lady of the Snows, which is of course the same worship of Mary, like in Quito in Ecuador and in Fatima in Portugal, etc., 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 etc. But now you got it in Antarctica, which is the most southern part, they say, on this so-called globe, and it has been made entirely of ice. There is a small Catholic shrine near McMurdo Station called Our Lady of the Snows, popularly known as Roll Cage Mary. The shrine, it's totally unbiblical. You see that it's a violation of the second commandment and of the first commandment, and only God knows what kind of an abomination that is, was dedicated to United States Navy Seabee who was killed during the construction of the station. It has been maintained by Carmelite nuns in New Zealand. And I said, oh yeah, I would like to see it. And there you got Roll Cage Mary. With a cross. I don't think that anybody is surprised. To this day, it's a popular hiking destination and we all feel much safer as she stands guards over town. What shall I add to this comment? What shall I add to this? What shall I add to this? Somebody has been killed there. On the 6th of January 1956, a guy lost his life when the D8 tractor he was operating broke through the bay ice 4 miles north-northwest of Cape Royds and plunged 350 fathoms to the bottom of McMurdo Sound. His body was never recovered. Okay. The petty officer Williams gave his life in the logistic support of scientific exploration of Antarctica. And that's why he get that memorial then. It's interesting that it is just the 6th January 1956. Yeah? 6th January is in the Roman calendar is the feast of the Holy Three Kings. I wonder if that is a coincidence. But it gets worse. In 2002, Patriarch Alexei II of Moscow asked for, quote-unquote, a temple for Antarctica and initiated the Trinity Church, Antarctica, a Russian Orthodox church at Bellingshausen Station, South Shetland Islands. And no wonder, because, of course, the Roman Catholic Church as well as the Russian Orthodox Church, they both venerate Mary. So everything is okay. While the Pakistani program at Jinnah Antarctic Station brought Muslims to Antarctica in 1991, there are no mosques on the continent or on any of the outlying islands, as there is yet no consensus as to observing Islamic religions customs. Yeah, but on the other hand, you see there also got veneration of a female in Islam, as we know in Queen of Heaven, Queen of Islam, Queen of all, huh? Yeah, so no wonder that Argentina, or the home country of the current Pope, not on Benedict here, or the current Pope, has an interest in Argentina because they are just operating there on a big scale. And that is, of course, the Church of this purple and scarlet, as we all know from Rosemary's Baby and all the mess. It's very interesting because you see that this woman who has been depicted in Quito, standing on top of the dragon, or the snake actually, with the globe under her feet, actually is the same veneration of Mary as Our Lady of Ice in Antarctica, with other symbols. So Mary then has a roll cage. Great. And we are not alone in our Mary worship, because Mary worship means Mary is like Madonna. Madonna means Our Lady. And so it's Our Lady of Ice. And Madonna is not the Lady of Ice, of course. It's maybe the more than the Queen of Harlots. She's got an interesting lyric here. It's called The Beast Within. Speaking of, what is it now? The Woman Riding the Beast. Madonna has lately issued a single or a song, actually, The Beast Within. That is here the lyrics from that song. And the lyrics contains of verses of the book of Revelation.
What?
Yeah. The Beast Within is a... It's a, yeah, what will you say? It's a rap song. She starts blah, 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 blah. She's just talking all the time, and she's just reciting verses out of the book of Revelation. So what beast could she refer on when she's dressed like this? It can't be hard then. I'm not making it up. You see that Madonna means Madonna worship Our Lady of Quito, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Fatima, Our Lady of the Ice, Our Lady, Our Lady, Our Lady. Madonna means Our Lady. And now she's just reciting her verses out of the book of Revelation. Especially Revelation 13. My. You see that? Where to start? And this is just my small excerpt on religion in Antarctica. Of course, all the emperors who were there, the conquistadors, Portuguese, Spanish, of course, they did not leave out Antarctica. It's no wonder that the majority of South American countries, they claim the ownership of the Antarctica. But it gets worse. I promise. You see, the Antarctica has been infamous actually, for all their conspiracy theories. And you can guess that the only conspiracy they have planning is the conspiracy that they are not talking of. So all the stuff that they are claiming, that is just the extraterrestrial and all the stuff, this is also very interesting, because extraterrestrial means occurring or originating outside the Earth. So that is the reason why somebody came up with the hilarious idea and said, okay, if the Antarctica is just not only a continent, but maybe, according to the so-called flat earthers, is an ice ring where it is the absolute frontier and you can't go any further, then maybe there is an extra portion of land over this ice barrier, which is then the origin of extraterrestrials, because terra means earth, so it's a special edition of the earth. Can you follow me, Brad?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I don't have to show that map. So, and I think they are just fooling us. You see that this is a Catholic program here, universal, with E.T., the extraterrestrial. And this, of course, is the finger stroke of God. This can only be a reference of an alien connecting with the man, not avoiding the term human, because then otherwise Brad would have his special moment. Yeah, do you think that is a coincidence here? I don't think so. Yeah, so this is just a hilarious allegory of these Michelangelo painting of the creation of Adam, of course. What they are using here for just, we have to protect and wear gloves and masks and all the stuff, because God has to be protected with the glove. It's such a hilarious blasphemy here. It's blasphemy. And E.T., you got the same sign with the two... is it called the index finger? Can you help me out, Brad? Is it called the index finger here? Okay, yeah, the index finger, yeah. So the pointer finger, the index finger. And that's the same as in these, depicting here in this painting from Michelangelo, what he did for the Vatican, of course, so as a Roman Catholic. And Michelangelo is also very, very interesting because Michelangelo actually means the angel Michael. Michelangelo, yeah, so the angel Michael. Welcome to Antarctica, once again. Antarctica is a continent on the south pole of the Earth because the Earth has a magnetic field. And that's why I inserted here. Oh yeah, that is very interesting because you see my brain works also with a little bit of magnetic and electric, huh? So maybe I could be affected by these magnetic fields. Covered in ice. The Antarctica famously is covered in ice. And this is a depiction here of the goddess Isis, because Isis is also seen as the queen of ice. Unluckily, the Catholics there on Antarctica, they did not call their Lady of the Snows or Mary in a roll cage Lady of Ice. But, of course, you see, that would be very, very close to the goddess Isis. So that Antarctica is close to Chile, Australia, and New Zealand. It was discovered by 1820s by the Russians. Romanovs, oh, interesting name, in collaboration with the Royal Society of Stewards and House of Hanover. The name Antarctica word arc was invented by Scottish geographer John George Bartholomew, and I got a very high suspicion that it is not the right explanation. The North Pole was always associated with the Atlantis civilization of the Draco-Nordic Aryan race because the dragon Draco encircles the North Star. So you got one hint. But now we're talking about the Arctic. We're talking about the North, not about the South. What about the South then? You see, this world will fool you with all these deceptions and all these conspiracy theories. For example, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, Operation High Jump, a 1946 U.S. Navy expedition to the Antarctica ended early, and the commander cryptically warned that he was not trying to scare anyone, but the United States should adopt measures of protection against the invasion of the country by hostile planes coming from the polar regions. And that is why many, many, many of the German people think that, oh yeah, there's something about the Antarctica where they are just been having strange spacecrafts and ETs, secret base. You see, the problem that we got is we do not know whom to trust. And I don't trust any author, I just trust my common sense and the Bible. The Bible does not speak of Antarctica. The Bible does not speak about it. The Bible just plainly speaks about the dividing of land in the days of Peleg. From that book of Phil Minetti, The Illusion of Democracy, a more accurate history of the modern United States, which at first glance sounds very reasonable, he has interesting footnotes or interesting excerpts here. Though the war had ended, the Nazi threat persisted. In fact, the perceived risk was so great that Admiral Richard Byrd was dispatched to Antarctica under a mission codenamed Operation High Jump. He was accompanied by contingents of Allied forces, which included Russia. Byrd was commissioned 4,700 seamen, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft. I said, oh, 33, great. The Allied invasion was immediately and decisively repelled, and the mission terminated. Byrd's decimated surviving squadron returned home in less than 8 weeks. Byrd began co-writing a book exposing the secrets of Antarctica with Secretary of Defense James Forrestal. Forrestal was sent to Bethesda Naval Hospital. I said, oh, that is an interesting address, huh? At Bethesda, he began to discuss details of Operation High Jump with the hospital staff. Subsequently, Forrestal was denied visitors, including his wife, and shortly thereafter fell out of his hospital window to his death. Byrd ceased authoring the book. The initial expedition to Antarctica was founded by John D. Rockefeller, Jr. A large portion of Mary Byrd Land was named Rockefeller Plateau in his honor. Well, doesn't sound that extremely strange. I can tell you that I have read a German book, which I have not incorporated here because then I would have to translate everything. That, of course, he saw strange spaceships and all the stuff and from the outer world and aliens and all the stuff. And people believe it. Do you believe it, Brett?
No.
Brett, many people believe that the Nazis, they fled to South America and also afterwards then to Antarctica, had a secret base there and would have invented UFOs. Because when UFOs had been seen, or what else, in 1947 in your country, in the United States of America, that is so close.
New Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, that is so close to the end of the Second World War.
Right.
Yeah, plus minus 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I have been remembered that quote of William Casey from the United Nations Security, CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. He says,
Well, no, our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false.
Yes, and I would hardly believe that is an admiral bird has all reasons not to tell any truth. And I have all reasons to believe that considering that the powers to be, they control the press for more than 200 years now, that they won't let a document slip, which just been talking about these extraterrestrials and all the stuff. I think that is deliberately misinformation. Deliberately. That's the same in the case of this Roswell incident. Although it is quite close from the timeline. 1945, the Second World War ended. 1946, the Operation High Jump in the Antarctica started. 1947, the flying saucer appeared in Roswell, in New Mexico, in the United States. Captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. Yes, no details are revealed. It's just top secret. Area 51. The problem is that all these army guys and spies and politicians, they lie deliberately because they have been paid for this. You see that everybody comes up with this hilarious idea that the Antarctica has something to do with secrets of the United States Army. The problem in itself is that the United States Army is not independent. The United States Army is just a servant to the Vatican. So therefore you have to look quite in another direction. So when you just type in Operation High Jump in Antarctica, they tell you, oh yeah, it's about 46 to 47, and it's just a hollow earth that Admiral Richard Byrd, he saw a hollow earth, and something was just disappearing and was just appearing, and I just spare you all the details because you see that is, in my humble opinion, it's nothing substantial in it. There are aliens, crystal cities. You see that everybody contributes anything to the Admiral Richard Byrd. So much so for the hollow earth. The hollow earth is a concept proposing that the so-called planet, which is not a planet because it's not moving, Earth is entirely hollow or contains a substantial interior space. Notably suggested by Edmund Halley, and this is very interesting because that must be the guy who has just a comet in his name. Not comedy, but a comet, the Halley comet. In the late 17th century, the notion was disproven first tentatively by Pierre Bouguer, then definitely by Charles Hutton in his She-Halion experiment around 1774. But it just sounds so outlandish, huh? A hollow earth. The interior world of Atva-Tabaran, from a science fiction novel of the goddess of Atva-Tabaran. Yeah, maybe it's also Our Lady of Atva-Tabaran. In ancient times, the concept of a subterranean land inside the earth appeared in mythology, folklore, and legends. The idea of subterranean realms seemed arguable and became intertwined with the concept of places of origin or afterlife, such as the Greek underworld, the Nordic Svartalfarheimer, the Christian hell, and the Jewish Sheol, with detail describing inner earth in Kabbalistic literature, such as the Zohar and Hist Lavramham. I'm sorry if I do not pronounce it correctly. The idea of a subterranean realm is also mentioned in Tibetan Buddhist belief. Interesting, huh? My. So the North Pole and the South Pole, there is an entrance hole, and then you can have a great afterlife you can't imagine. According to ancient Greeks, there were caverns under the surface which were entrances leading to the so-called underworld, some of which were the caverns of Laconia, Argolis, etc., etc. In Mesopotamian religion, here, there's a story of a man who, after traveling through the darkness of a tunnel in the mountain of Mashu, entered a subterranean garden. Yeah, there are even chapels built on the side of a cave, which, according to various myths, is an entrance to a place of purgatory inside the earth. I think that is much, much, much more closer to the Roman Catholic belief of purgatory than anything else. In Celtic mythology, there's a legend of a cave called Croatcan, also known as Island's Gate to Hell. Aha. It's quite interesting because you see that the further you go on top, the further you reach God. Yeah, so he's just coming down on the mountains, and the further you go down, of course, you go to hell. That, of course, is also very problematic because it's just a materialistic way of thinking, which the Bible does not support, huh? The Bible does not tell you that, oh yeah, there's just a hell that is just miles and miles deep into the earth. No, nowhere near. In Native American mythology, it is said that the ancestors of the Mandan people in ancient times emerged from a subterranean land through a cave on the north side of the Missouri River. Brazilian Indians, who, now we're getting closer to South America, obviously, who live alongside the Parima River in Brazil, claim that their forefathers emerged in ancient times from an underground land and that many of their ancestors still remained inside the earth. Aha. Interesting. And now it gets even more interesting. In more recent times, 16th to 18th century, there is a notion of a certain Jesuit called Athanasius Kircher. Yes, the same guy of Ars Magna Lucis Ambri about the importance of cinema projection. A non-fiction book, Mundus Subterraneus, which speculated that there is an intricate system of cavities and a channel of water connecting the poles. That means that there was at least one famous German Jesuit, Athanasius Kircher, and he's really famous, or let's say infamous, who says that it's a non-fiction that there are a channel of waters connecting the poles, so that there is something under the earth that usually people cannot approach. I find that interesting with this Athanasius Kircher. You see that at that moment my eyes go wide open. Edmund Halley, he said that the earth consists of a hollow shell, and he envisaged the atmosphere inside the luminous inhabited and speculated the escaping gas caused then the aurora borealis, or the northern lights. So it's just, of course, his meaning, his view. But there are other peoples who say that there is a kind of a world under the earth. And then you would be extremely close to the so-called black sun. You got here a small depictions of the so-called black sun. Maybe some of these pictures will look familiar to anybody of you. So the black sun comes from this Nazi occultism. A symbol of the sun composed of 12 sick runes, first appearing on the floor of the North Tower of Wewelsburg after Heinrich Himmler ordered it to be remodeled. It gained modern popularity due to its use by Nazi occultists. It was later adopted by Satanists. The name Black Sun was coined by Wilhelm Landig of the Landig Group. That's an Austrian guy, which is hilarious, by the way. And it's not ending there. This is a badge of the Azov Battalion, which uses a black sun and a version of the Wolf's angle on the forefront. And this is coming from military in no other country than Ukraine. And that always reminds me of a black sun. Partially. So, other people claim there is something to it. And that's why I thought, okay, come on, let's have it then this way. I came to an interesting and very famous French author called Jules Verne. He has written a book, obviously, or officially in 1864, The Journey to the Center of the Earth. He describes an expedition into the Earth's interior via the fictional Icelandic volcano Skartaris. The protagonists do not actually reach the center, but nevertheless discover a subterranean ocean inhabited by creatures believed extinct. They escape through another volcano on the Italian island of Stromboli, which means, oh, there's an entrance hole and there's an exit hole. So these are stills from that movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth. They claim it has something to do with volcanic rock. Let's remember that there was a famous church building in Ecuador, which they have made of volcanic rock from the Jesuits. They claim that is a cryptic message from a scientist a few hundred years ago. This is, of course, BS. And they want to achieve the center of the Earth. And in the center of the earth, I find all this strange stuff. And some of the strange stuff I will send my beloved brother in Christ read.
Mushrooms! A forest of mushrooms! They may be hundreds of years old, but the small ones we can eat. And delicious! To think they grew without sun this far under the earth.
Okay, Michael.
Okay, so after that giant mushroom field, they of course have met some extinct creatures, some extinct temples. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the voyage to the center of the earth. The most interesting stuff of that video comes at the end. Because there's a speech that the main actor is holding here in front of the university, and he says, quote unquote, a scientist who cannot prove what he has accomplished nothing.
Hello, Scots! If these shouts of yours express some pleasure that we've returned alive, I thank you deeply. However, if they're meant as praise for a successful scientist, I must disclaim that honor. No. A scientist who cannot prove what he has accomplished nothing. I have no records, no shred of evidence. I will never embarrass this distinguished university by asking that it take my word.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so you come up with all these theories and hypotheses like the Big Bang and illusion theory. You see, that is just contradicting. This is not science. This is just belief, indoctrination. And that's what it's really interesting speech here at the end. So there are movies who are just depicting that there is something happening under the earth, so to speak. Yeah, the mammoth mushroom forest. The fearful underground earthquake, the devastating eruption of a live volcano, and this is just all for the moviegoers. The lost city of Atlantis, who has been drowned, sure. Yeah, the attack of any unknown species, the monstrous flesh-eating Dimetrodons. Oh, what a kind of a BS. Yeah, these were living 295 million years ago. Oh, sure. Yeah. Giant chameleon with a 20-foot tongue. Oh, yeah. Must be very hungry. 1,001 wonders. Sure, must be more than 1,000, huh? Journey to the center of the earth, where they have another sun under the surface, so to speak. It's about an eccentric German scientist who believed there are volcanic tubes that reach to the very center of the earth. So they see subpolar tornadoes in underground ocean, living prehistoric creatures. Eventually the three explorers are spewed back to the surface by an active volcano, Stromboli, located in southern Italy. How fitting that it is in Italy. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, so the category of subterranean fiction existed well before Jules Verne. However, his novel distinction lay in its well-researched Victorian science and its inventive contribution to the science fiction subgenre of time travel. Verne's innovation was the concept of a prehistoric realm still existing in the present-day world. I did not want to spend so much time on this, so I just want to get rid of it. The hollow earth possessed an inner sun and was inhabited by prehistoric species, sure. A book by Dr. Raymond Bernard, which appeared in 1964, The Hollow Earth, exemplifies the idea of UFOs coming from inside the Earth. Yeah, you see, and there you go with the explanation of Admiral Byrd in 1946. Yeah. In classical and medieval literature, Ultima Thule, or in Latin the Fatus Thule, acquired a metaphorical meaning of any distant place located beyond the borders of the known world. And there you are with your ice corridor or ice border. This is located beyond the borders of the known world means non plus ultra. Yeah, so what used to be the Strait of Gibraltar in Spain and also a depiction of your US dollar bill. So all the other things I don't want to go into now because it's just affected by gravitational pull. You see gravity and all the stuff. This is science so-called. So therefore we are just making progress here. Yeah, and that's a problem with it. You see that deliberately they come up with misinformation like these UFOs in New Swabia. That's was a ship in the 1930s from German Reich, which they sent to Antarctica to explore in 1938, 1939, just before the beginning of the Second World War, the German Antarctic expedition. And they set sail then there, and they claimed a part of the land, which, but the problem was, officially at least, that Norway claimed this part of land before. And many people now are thinking about, and in Antarctica, then they had all the resources and all the time, and they were not approached by any allied forces, and they could then have their secret technology with the UFOs at light speed and or what else. So this is hilarious, because can you imagine, though they are too weak to defend their own country, but they are so powerful that nobody can touch them in Antarctica. Sure, you really have a hard time believe it. I have a really hard time believe it. That was the Swabia, Schwabenland, 1944, destroyed. And they had 2 planes on that, so they can also then discover the island with it. Aha. Yeah, that was the German ship Schwabenland. And people believe it. I see. 20 years ago, I was looking up that stuff, of course, because it was interesting if there were some secret weapons. But obviously, it did not. Germany did not win the war. Luckily, nobody did win the war. There was only one country who did win the war, and it was the Vatican. So this is the New Swabia partition here on the Antarctic continent. This is South America, this is Africa, of course. So that would be the German then, but isn't, because Norway claims they were discovered before. So that the grave of Hitler was discovered in Argentina. There was a recent issue about it on Renz. And I don't know, and I don't care, because he's not an important figure. You see, this is just one who has just been used as a distraction tool, this Mr. Hitler coming from Austria. You see, everything can be photoshopped. At least to me, it looks photoshopped here. And nobody knows if he died here or there, but I'm quite sure that now, 130 years later, he died. So I don't know, and I don't care. I really don't care. What I care is that the entire world is just making, or trying at least, to make fool of us. This is not only the Hitler salute from Isabelita Perón, the Argentinian, hello, Mr. Jorge Bergoglio. This is not the Hitler salute, but the Roman salute, because Hitler was just a puppet of the Roman Empire. So it always is more important where the origin of anything is. So this is all totally BS, but it must be a cause that they're just putting out all this BS in front of you. Not only the CIA, but worldwide. That there is a secret underground army at the South Pole, and I don't believe a bit of it, because I think that it's just like a land of make-believe. So it is just a fairy tale for adults and or for people who are just claim themselves being adults, but being fooled every time because they don't read the Bible. The Bible does not speak about that. Oh yeah, in the latter times there will come people from the south, and then there will no. So that's not my point. But what's the point? You see, Wikipedia tells me that Antarctica is the Earth's southernmost and least populated continent. Must be because of the climate change, huh? The 5th largest continent, 40% larger than Europe. 40.2 million square kilometers, or 5.5 million square miles. Most is covered of Antarctic ice sheet. On average, it's the coldest, driest and windiest of the continents. Interesting that British explorers were the one who were the first to reach the magnetic South Pole in 1909, and the geographic South Pole was first reached in 1911 by Norwegian explorers. And they come up here in their interesting models. You see that you can depict anything today with modern standards in CGIs and green screen and everything with the ozone depletion, the ozone hole. This would be on top of the Antarctica. Or maybe that is just the cause of some secret experiments there. You see that you can't prove it. They can't prove it. I can't prove it. They're just showing a display here. And you have to believe it. And I can tell you that the majority of people on this earth will believe it because it's just science, or their science, secular science. So not going into this because I can't, of course, confirm or deny it. What I can confirm and deny it is that I think that the many phenomena appearing here on this earth or on this world have a meaning or have just a connection to magnetic fields. But for a magnetic field, you don't need a sphere. You don't need a globe. You see, you can also have two magnetic fields within the same magnet. Interesting, huh? So you can generate a magnetic field by having magnets, sure, yeah, but iron cores and all the stuff. But the size of it is not important. It's just important that there are strong magnetic fields. South and north. Magnetic fields. So, our Earth, most likely, has a magnetic field. If so, we will be affected by it. And you see, I also got the idea, or just a theory, that they say that yes, the magnetic field will change. I don't know if that is the truth. Maybe they can do something about it. I don't know. I just wanted to show you that you don't need a globe to have a North Pole and a South Pole when it comes down to magnetic fields. Okay, so either shape will do. Magnetic fields, like Jean-Michel Jarre. Yes, and I don't need any weird scientist to show me this or that, because most likely they can't prove anything. That is just another hilarious theory. Antarctica is governed by 30 countries, all of which are parties of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty System. According to the terms of the treaty, military activity, mining, nuclear explosions and nuclear waste disposal are all prohibited in Antarctica. Yeah. During the summer months, about 5,000 people reside at research stations. The figure that drops to around 1,000 in the winter must be around the climate then. Now we're coming to the real interesting stuff. And this is the English Wikipedia. Antarctica, from Greek Antarktikos, German opposite the Arctic, is the southern continent of the Earth, on which the South Pole itself is located. It is located in the middle of Antarctica, and Antarctica has been defined by definition the zone beyond 66.6 degrees latitude.
Coincidence?
The reason why I put so much research onto Antarctica, actually. Other names are Southern Continent and Antarctic Continent. Antarctica has an area of around 40 million square kilometers and is almost completely covered by the Antarctic ice sheet. There's an interesting music of the Electric Light Orchestra. We know who was the first musician on the earth. According to Ezekiel 28, it was Lucifer, or the title of Lucifer, or Satan in disguise as a musician. And the Electric Light, Light Orchestra. Jeff Lynne has a hidden track which came out a certain amount of years before, but was not incorporated on any albums. It's called Latitude 88 North. The Iceman came to me tonight. I heard the footsteps in the hall, and I heard a cold voice call, "It's such a lonely world." So the poles, either north and south, are extremely cold. And that's also very obvious, I think, because, and he says, it's like latitude 88 north, it's so cold as hell. That's interesting that he's been depicted the hell as cold, because usually, I think, when it comes down to the Roman Catholic belief, it's like a little bit hotter than usual, and not cold as hell. But what do I know? What do I know? You got the North Pole, you got the South Pole. The Arctic as well as the Antarctic Circle is starting at 66 degrees and 34 minutes of a degree. And 34 minutes of a degree is close to 2/3. So it's 66, 6, 6, 6, 6. There is where the Arctic Circle, when it comes down to the longitude, right? Longitude, yeah. Starts in the north as well as in the south. But Antarctica is below 66%. It's just a circle. And that's also, of course, the obvious reason why it is so cold in the north, at extreme north and in extreme south. Because here you got the tropics of Cancer for the summer, for the positions of the sun, and the Tropic of Capricorn for the winter on the northern hemisphere. Here the dividing line, Tropic of Capricorn, 23.4. Which, of course, if you subtract it to 90, you come to, yes, 66.6 left over. And now they claim to you that this Earth has a tilt of 23.4 degrees, which leaves another 66.6. Interesting. So these are the polar circles at 66.6 in the north and 66.6 in the south. Or close to, very close to. And they claim in German here that at this time they are just nearing themselves for about close to 40 feet every year. You can't prove it, of course. You can't prove it. You can't prove it. Yeah, and that's why I think they come up with all these interesting theories about the size of the Earth. I also thought, okay, might be that they are just hiding somewhere. Maybe there's just also somewhere with 66.6 somewhere in the north where they are just hiding something. And I came to a strange coincidence. Here, when you have a longitude and a latitude of 66.6, you just will be in Jamal Nensen in Russia. Interesting. Wonder what they are doing there, but maybe it's just only a coincidence. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming up with these grays, which are nothing else than demons that have been depicted by agents like Aleister Crowley, and they came up with that interesting or hilarious idea that they were coming maybe from the South Pole with their UFOs on their bases there, and so therefore have been landed then or crashed then in Roswell. Sure. In my humble opinion, it's just not an incident or an accident. It's just deliberately fooling the people according to the purpose of the CIA. Maybe on purpose, because maybe they will introduce something that has then an artificial intelligence which is just way beyond the imagination of any human brain can cope. What really strikes me is that Roswell in New Mexico is located at the latitude of 33. And that would so fit. And not only this, but because the official seal of the city also features a little green man. There are many ufology attractions in Roswell, like museums, events, and statues. You have an international UFO museum, a spacewalk, an alien motor speedway, and you see that it's just all about making money, huh? You see that all these false claims about crystal skulls, maybe from South America and all the stuff. You see that Indiana Jones. Yeah, this is all just fake. It's just fake. Crystal skulls claim to be pre-Columbian Mesoamerican artifacts by the alleged finders. However, these claims have been refuted for all of the specimens made available for scientific studies. The skulls appear to have been crafted in Germany, quite likely at workshops in the town of Idar-Oberstein, which was renowned for crafting objects made from imported Brazilian quartz in the late 19th century. Yeah, sure, it's always Germans to blame for everything. Always. Always. Crystal skulls. Yeah, they come up with everything. Some individuals believe in the paranormal claim that crystal skulls can produce a variety of miracles. Mrs. Hedges claims that the skull she allegedly discovered could cause visions and cure cancer, and that she's once used its magical properties to kill a man, and that in another instance she saw it in the premonition of the John F. Kennedy assassination. Hilarious, huh? We have left out that hypothesis, Brad. I'm so sorry for the Kennedy sessions, but I did not see it then, that somebody has said it has something to do with the crystal skull. As I told you then when we did that last year, I told you that somebody will come up that it was a UFO attack or what else, but I have not mentioned here paranormal skulls. So Mr. Crowley has an apparition of a so-called lamb entity that he believes he was in contact with. The creatures did not resemble of any race of humans. They were shorter than the average Japanese, and their heads were big. Sure, they are more clever, of course, and bald with strong, square foreheads and very small noses and mouth and weak chins. What's most extraordinary about them were the eyes, large, dark, gleaming with sharp grays. They were clothed made of soft gray fabric, the grays, and their limbs seemed to be similar to those of humans. And I have to believe it. What I believe is that these are not things who are just real in existence. Although I know of somebody who has been in contact with some people who say that, this is authentic, and they believe that these grays are from the United States. Depiction of grays in every culture and in every movie, of course. This is coming here from Man in Black. But it's interesting if you think there is an alien threat for the Earth or for the globe here, and the Man in Black are defending that alien attack. That is very interesting, because that leads us to a more reasonable hypothesis for the future. Because who are these Men in Black? And you see, they have to defend the globe at any cost. And if you have found the humor in that remark, then don't tell anybody, because they won't believe you.
This is a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never did see that movie, by the way, but
it's coming from
the
Colombia.
Men in Black represent the Jesuits, don't
Sure.
they?
And the Jesuits will defend the globe at any cost, because it's in their Bible. You have to know all the stuff to really know what they are just talking about. That's usually, if you see that picture, you won't get it, and you would think that it's entertainment, but they are just making fun of everybody. They are just making fun of everybody. And I will soon show you why. Australia, for example, means southern. Austral means from Auster, the south wind. So Australia also is very southern, I think, Australia, former prison continent. Not prison planet, beware. Prison continent. So there are so many stuff. They're coming up with their explanation of their science. Hilarious depiction of gravity. And it's just quite obvious that it has more to do with other things, but the definition of gravity is the attraction of objects and not falling from height to ground. Oh my. So maybe that's the best picture that I can come up with. This is the Pope Paul VI watching the moon landing, and then you know who's the biggest liar of them all. When they say for 400 years the Vatican has been advancing scientific inquiry and promoting awareness of how our universe works, then they admit that they are in charge of science since 400 years.
Yeah, but who's paying attention to what he's admitting to?
Yeah, right, Brett. You see that you just subtract 400 years from 2024. And then you come to
that
60.
Makes sense. Yeah, right around the time the Jesuits came into power.
Yeah, not only this, but you see that. Imagine you see that this ratio deorum was 1599, although it has been introduced quite before. Yeah,
perfect.
That would be 430 years now, close to 425 actually, to be correct.
It took a few years to get the ball rolling, Mike.
Yeah, exactly, and then you think of 1624. how many independent states there were. There was no French Revolution in 1624. Spain had still their king. So you see, they admit advancing scientific inquiry and promoting awareness of how our universe works. Yeah, they're just admitting it, huh? They are just admitting it. And for the real stuff of the Antarctic, I'm sorry, but I need another session. We have made 120 pages and I need a break. So please join us next time or next week when it's about the 23rd session of Science is the New Religion, about the Geo-Logy, and then you will see that there is much logic in what they are just actually doing. And they do nothing by accident. This is all just a big purpose to lead as many people astray as they can, because actually that is their profession. They cannot do anything but lie. They not lie only in the Bible. They lie on every term, on every subject, on every item. They can't behave otherwise, because these are people of the line of Cain. The mark of Cain has been stamped upon our foreheads, said a late Pope.
Oh, so, that's Pope Paul VI, yeah.
Pope Paul VI, yeah. Oh, then it's the same Pope that's...
Or was it John the 23rd? I forget.
Yeah, I think it was John the 23rd, but I can look it up.
It's John the 23rd, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so then we just...
Pope Paul VI, he said something else that was staggering. I can't recall it right now, but something to the same degree.
I need to refresh my voice, and therefore I'd just like to hand it over to my beloved brother Brett to close it down, because I would like to start fresh and new in the next session. Thanks so much for having me, as usual, and I hope that we could be of some help for you. Thanks very much, and Maranatha.
Yeah, Michael, I think what I'm getting from you, from all of your research and everything, makes a lot more sense now in terms of, this disdain for this depiction of the globe, because essentially, like I said, I think last week even, that this globe represents totalitarianism. It represents the domain of Satan. They're just completely eradicating any acknowledgement of our true Messiah, and replacing it with the false one. So, yeah, interesting stuff, Michael.
Could also be another reason. You see that the globe is a multi-dimensional object instead of a two-dimensional object. Yeah, so you have depth with it, and so it can also depict another dimension. So they are just doing it on every level. Yeah, let's put it this way. They're just fooling you on every level.
Well, right. There's a lot to consider that we've covered in previous sessions too. That
Oh, you will see. You will have
bring into focus later, right? So
yeah. You will see what it all turns out, and we are just getting more closer and closer to the nitty-gritty, actually. Yeah, but you see, there is so much deception in it that people are being, of course, try to be deluded and to try to be put in the wrong direction with all the subterranean stuff and all the stuff. This is not what actually is happening. I think there is much more going on there. But later session then.
Okay, very good, Michael. Thanks for hanging with us this long, if you have, and we'll catch up with you next time. God bless. Bye-bye.